In this video we will make a gigantic email automation. We want to make 3 different workflows, and right now I want to show you what we are building. We built a mail agent that has OpenAI as the chat model, a vector database in Pinecone where some email addresses are stored, and then also a send mail tool in order to send our mail. In order to upsert stuff to our vector database, we will use this workflow. This is just to upsert our data into Pinecone. And we do another technique than in the previous video. And lastly, we want to have this workflow, and this workflow will get triggered by our other workflow. So you will basically have 3 different workflows and they will work in conjunction to each other. In this video you will learn how you can connect 3 different workflows. It will be Pinecone to upsert our data, our rec application in order to use these email addresses and send mails, and also the third workflow that will get triggered by our other workflow, so you can really learn a lot in this video. We start with the Pinecone vector database, so we rename this, for example, mails to Pinecone. Then we press plus, of course. What I like to do in this video is to do it completely different than in the other video so that you can see that we have a lot of options. I like to use the manual trigger node, but of course you can also do this completely automatical, just like in the previous video with, for example, Google Drive. Every time that you upload something new into Google Drive, you can insert new email addresses in your vector store. To be honest, this would be most likely also the better workflow, but I want to show you that you have a lot of options here. After you have your manual trigger node, you can always press test workflow like this works, come on. Then we press plus, and now I want to include something. And I like to use Google Docs this time. And we want to have get a document. What we need to do right now is, of course, to connect our Google Docs account. You have most likely until now no Google Docs account, so we do this once again step by step. So you press on these and you do it as always. You can open documentation, you go on Google Cloud, you press on the console. Excuse me that I show this every time, but here are the biggest confusions. We press here, new project, NIN Docs, create. We use this project. We press on these dots here, APIs and services, library, Google Docs. We want to have the Google Docs API. We activate it. As soon as this is active, we go on OAuth consent screen, create new for first steps, NIN Docs, our mail, we go on, extern, we go on. Once again, our mail, we go on, we accept, go on, and create. Create OAuth client, web application. Web client 1 is okay. Once again, our uDirect URL, we press on it, we come back into NIN, copy these, we throw it in here, and we create. And lastly, of course, we go to our Zielgruppe. This is German, of course, so just press on this button. We use some test users, we give our mail, and we connect. Lastly, we press on clients once again. We press here. And of course we get our API key and the client ID, so we copy the client ID, throw it into NIN, and then the client secret or the API key, however you want to call this, and we throw it down here. Connect with Google or sign in with Google. We use our Google account, we go on, accept all, we go on. And green once again, and green is always good. So right now Google Docs is connected, and I want to show you why I want to connect Google Docs. Because in Google Docs I have made up this document here. This is just an example. I have called it Arnie test, and here I have names and email addresses. So the name is Arnie test for the first mail. This is the only mail that exists here, and we want to use this for test purpose. Then I have Max Müller and Anna Schmidt and something else like, don't worry about privacy, these mails do not exist. We go back. So this is simply a Google Doc, and then we come back, of course, into NIN. We want to have, of course, a document. We want the operation is, of course, get, and then we want to have the doc ID or the doc URL. So we simply open up this doc. Now we can connect, of course, this doc. Now we can copy these. We come back into NIN. We throw this in. This should work. It's simplified, and now we press test step, and we should theoretically load in our data. If we press on JSON, you see that we have Arnie test and here the mail. We have Max Müller and here the mail, and so on. We have also the schema, so you see our data comes through correctly. This works. And I want to insert this data into a vector store from Pinecone. So just like we did previously, we search for Pinecone, so Pinecone vector store, retrieve documents for AI agent as tools, works for us here. But maybe you do not have a Pinecone key, so we do this once again. So create new credentials, we go on Pinecone, we log in, create index, we call it n8n docs. We use the small embeddings from OpenAI, create index. Index is created, we go on API keys, create API key, n8n docs, create key. We copy the key, come back into n8n, throw the API key in here, but press save, and green is always good. Operation mode, we have here the false operation mode. I could also use just receive documents previously, but right now we use it simply here. So insert documents. Now we need a list, of course, we can press on it. It's n8n docs. And you know it works better if we give a Pinecone namespace. So let's just use, for example, docs mail. So this thing is set up. Right now we need, of course, embeddings. I like to use the OpenAI embeddings. And of course we use our OpenAI API key here. Then we press plus once again, because we want to have the default data loader. Type of data, yeah, it's not really JSON. Let's just use binary. Load all input data. And data format automatically detect. Yes, this is fine for us. Also JSON would work in this example, but let's just use binary command. So we can close this. Of course, we need a text splitter, the recursive character text splitter. The chunk size can be small because we have only the names with the email address. So let's just say 300. Overlap, I don't think that we need an overlap. Let's just use 30 for this example. So right now we are, I think, set. Yeah, we can also go down here. Come on, let's just use 200 with an overlap of, let's just say 20. This is completely fine here. We do not need a lot of big text here. So this should work right now. On these text splitters, one small note. The higher the chunk size, the higher the token count as soon as you ask questions to your applications. If you want to have it even cheaper, you can go down, for example, to 110. For these emails, it's absolutely fine, and it will be also really precise. So let's just make it small and let it cheap. Now we save this workflow, and we can also test this workflow. We want to upsert. Okay, this thing is not connected, so let's just connect this workflow, excuse me. Now we can save this once again and test the workflow once again. We have a small problem. The text splitter seems not to work. So let's just use here JSON as format, and then we test this workflow once again. Okay, now it seems to work. So everything is working fine, so please use JSON. I thought maybe binary was also fine. Now we can come back into Pinecone. We are in our, let's just see, database n8n docs. Let's just wait until this thing comes through. It should connect right here. You see it blinking. Right now we have 4 documents, so our email addresses should be in the right place right now. So basically our first step is done. So we can save this as always, and we come back into overview, create new workflow, and now we go on. The next workflow, let's just call this workflow, for example, mail agent Pinecone. And of course we save it. Then we press plus. What I like to do here is to use an AI agent node. So we simply press on AI agent. And now this thing is of course included. Then we need a chat model, so we press plus. I like to do it simple. We always use just simply these OpenAI models because they work. Like, let's be honest, they are the best. At least for these agents, at least right now. I'm sure this can change over time. And I like to use the normal GPT for Omni. So we press on Omni, we have connected our OpenAI credentials, of course. And what we include right now is, of course, Pinecone. And we want to have our vector store tool. So we use the vector store tool. We give it a name. Let's just say mails. Also here, I like to call this tool mails, or let's just say vector store mails. We copy these. Also here, vector store mails, or maybe we need to do it this way. Then the description, this is of course important. Use this tool to get email information. You find all relevant mail addresses. I think this is fine. We rename it, and this thing is right now set. Then of course we need to press plus because we want to have our vector store, so we use the Pinecone vector store of course. We connect of course also our API key. Retrieve documents is of course fine. We press on it because we want to have our Pinecone index, and right now it's of course n8n docs because this was our Google document from previous. And in our Pinecone vector database you see that it's docs mail, so we can come back, we press on it, Pinecone namespace, and in this Pinecone namespace we need to give of course the Pinecone namespace. And if you do not remember it, just simply come back to Pinecone and see for yourself. The namespace is of course here on namespaces on n8n docs. This thing down here, we need to copy these, we come back into n8n and we throw in the name of the namespace. And now this thing should be connected. So we have the Pinecone vector store. Then the next thing is of course also the embedding models. We simply use this from OpenAI, it's connected and this is completely fine. And the next thing is of course that we also need here a model. Let's just say OpenAI once again with the GPT-4 Omni model. I think this will work great. So this thing is right now connected. We have access to our email addresses. So let's just make here a quick test in the meantime. I just want to press save. We go on chat. I go into my Google Docs and I ask for the email address of Arnie Test. What is the mail of Arnie Test? Let's just see if this is working or not. I sent this out. My vector store got triggered and I am relatively confident that we get this mail back. So this is the mail right here. And if you see right here, this is of course the mail. Let's just make another example. Let's just ask for the mail of Lisa Hoffman. We come back and we ask, what is the mail of? We insert this name and then we hopefully also get our email address back from Lisa Hoffman, lisa.hoffman@example.com, and it's of course lisa.hoffman@example.com. So you see this rec application is working perfectly. And now we go on with the next tool, and the next tool is here special, because here we want to have call n8n workflow tool. We use this thing, we give a name, let's just say send mail, we copy these, I also want to call this thing here send mail, use this tool to send mails, and it's done. And right now we need to do something special. This send mail tool, we want to trigger another workflow with the send mail tool. So this will be important right now. Of course, later I also want to show you the faster way, but right now I want to show you how we can trigger a separate tool, because we can also use new workflows and call new workflows with this tool. So we press save, we come on overview, create new workflow, we press plus, and here we use this right now. When executed by another workflow. This is a great note. And here we use accept all data. This is really important. So please don't forget this. Accept all data. You can also set mock data here if you just want to test this out, but I like to test it in another way. I just like to use here, like no mock data, we can unpin it and press accept all data. And then we come, for example, in the overview back. Now let's just give this a name. Let's just say send mails Pinecone. We press save. Once again, we come in overview. We come back to our mail agent. And right now we press once again on send mail. And now we need to choose from our list. And my workflow should be called send mails Pinecone. So it's this thing right here. And right now we should be connected. So what I want to do right now is the following. I press save, I press on chat, send a mail to Arnie Test, tell him that I like his course. I sent this out. Right now we will call the vector store for our email address and then we trigger the send mail tool if everything works correct. Yeah, right now it does not seem to work correct. Everything worked except the send mail tool. And that's why we need to have, of course, this is the message. We press on expression. I just don't want to cut this out so that you see that all of this is an iterating process. So right now we need to make the system prompt, and the system prompt should make sense, of course, for our LLM. So right now I do think my system prompt is okay. Role: you are an intelligent email agent that automatically sends personalized emails to recipients. Your task is to generate and send clear, professional and accurate emails based on the provided names, email addresses and desired content. Rules and behavior: you have 2 tools and need to use them correctly. The vector store mails: use this tool to get email addresses. The send mails: use this tool to send mails. Then the email format: this email is included, and so on. So we simply give an example, and we also tell this thing that it should end with Arnie. Then the dynamic personalization, so the thing where there is name included, of course we include the right name. Then overview and optimization: avoid unnecessary repetitions and so on. If the message is too long, summarize it. Then the email types, and then a small example how such a mail should look like, for example. So now let's just test this out. Send a mail to Arnie Test. Tell him that I like his course, and use the send mail to send your info. We can also delete this. Let's just make it a little bit more concise and send this out. We use the vector store to get our mails. Our mail is triggered, and the send mail tool is also triggered. I've sent the email to Arnie letting him know how much you like his course. And what we need to do right now is, of course, to come back. Then we go to our send mails pinecone. Here we have, of course, right now nothing that is working with our new data. But if we come on execution, we see that an execution comes through. You can simply press on it and see that all of this data came through. So this was perfect, of course, and we can absolutely work with this data. So right now we need to build out this workflow in order that we can work with this thing. So let's just go on with this thing, and as soon as this thing is set up, we can send our mails from our agent. One of the first things that I like to do is to set mock data, so that we can trigger this workflow later by simply pressing on test workflow. So we come on executions, some data come through, we can press on this data, we press on JSON, and here we have the whole data, the whole query that we can use in order to test this thing out. So what we need to do right now is to simply copy all of this small little code here. Then we come back, we go to the editor, we press on this node, we press set mock data, we delete this old data, insert our new data, and right now we can simply press save, and we have mock data right now. We can simply use this mock data to test this workflow. So if you press test workflow, this data will get sent out so that we don't have to trigger this node every single time from our other workflow. This is simply for test purpose. But later, of course, our new query will come through, and you can also unpin this mock data as soon as your workflow is done. So let's just make it as simple as possible. When executed by another workflow, we press plus, and what I want to include is right now the advanced AI. And here we need to use the AI agent node. We can close this down, so we use the AI agent, we press plus here, we use the OpenAI model. Let's just use GPT-4o mini because this is strong enough. And now we want to include, of course, once again our send mail tool. So Gmail tool, description set automatically. Message, resource is of course message, the operation is send, and to who do you want to send this? What I like to do is of course to let the AI decide, so you can simply press on these. You can also use variables here, but I like to make it simple, so we simply use the AI. This object should also do the AI for us. HTML is fine, and the message can also do the AI for us. So we do not have to work with this query that comes here through, but you could eventually work with these. But I think this is like the simpler way. And the last thing that we need to add is of course a small little prompt. So let's just use a system message. You're a helpful assistant to send mails, for example. And the source of prompt is of course defined below, and the defined below is the query from the left side. And now this thing is included, and I think it should work. So we press save. Now I can press this workflow, and then this query will get passed to our AI agent and send hopefully a mail to me. So test workflow. I think the mail will get generated, was executed successfully. So it seems that we have sent this mail, of course, right now. It was sent to arnie@example.com. These are of course just the stupid examples, but I think all of it works fine. So let's just come back into the overview. So let's just save this and see what we did. First, we started, of course, with this workflow. This workflow simply loads up our email information into Pinecone. Then the second piece is, of course, the mail agent. The mail agent uses OpenAI to draft our messages. Use Pinecone to get our mail information. Use OpenAI to draft the mails. And to send the mails, we use the Send Mail tool. And the Send Mail tool does basically the job. You can simply use here some mock data. You can, by the way, also unpin the mock data as soon as this is done, but make sure to accept all data. And then you can simply use this workflow. You can use this query here, and this query will get executed. And right now we need to test if this thing is working or not. So let's just come back to our mail agent. We simply use this chat model. Now let's just test this once again. Send a mail to Arnie test. Tell him that we drink a coffee tonight, and we send this out. So you see, agent gets triggered, Pinecone gets triggered, Send Mail tool gets triggered, everything seems to work. Then we come back into the Send Mails tool from Pinecone, and it seems that the last execution got through right now at this minute. Let's just make one little test. We come on chat, send a mail to Arnie test, tell him I love his course, and we send this out. We trigger Pinecone for our mail. We trigger the Send Mail tool to send it. Everything seems to work. So you see, we triggered this email address to send our mail, because of course it is in this database that Arnie test has this email. And so you see that everything is working.